Hi, Danielle here and Donna, and we're doing space art for Space Week 2025, and this year we are going to be focusing on the artist
Banksy.
So tell us a little bit about Banksy. Who is Banksy?
So Banksy is a street artist or a graffiti artist. So that means that he paints on walls and buildings. So he's painted on lots of walls and buildings throughout England, especially London, and even on a zoo wall once, I think.
A zoo wall?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's very naughty to be painting on walls and things. I don't think you're allowed to do that in your house.
You're not really allowed to paint on walls. It's not okay. However, because Banksy is such a good artist, people get really excited if he paints. He tends to do it during the night because the really interesting thing about Banksy is that nobody knows who he is. His identity is completely secret. And kind of like a superhero of the art world.
A superhero. So like an astronaut of the space world.
Yes.
That's like our superhero. He is the superhero of the art world.
The art world.
Okay.
So because he does it late at night when nobody can see him, and he uses stencils now, where he used to use paint and just freehand paint on walls, now he uses stencils, so it's really quick and nobody will see him, and then nobody will know who he is. People do love his art, and that's why he's allowed to do it. So people have often, if you paint it on a wall, the person that owned the wall has taken out the chunk of the wall and sold it for lots of money because people love him that much.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Well, I think it'd be really hard to spray paint if you were an astronaut and you wanted to do street art in space. You really couldn't spray paint in space. I think that would be a bit difficult. I think the spray paint can would probably just crush down. Is there another way you could do street art?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first one I'm thinking of is I've made this astronaut. So it's kind of based on the idea of one of Banksy's paintings, which was painted on Waterloo Bridge. And it is a little girl who's reaching up for a balloon that seemed to have got out of her. She lost it out of her hand and she's trying to catch it. So there's a wind that's blowing, and some think that the balloon is floating away from her, but some think that the balloon is floating to her and that she's going to catch it, because Banksy has written, "There's always hope." So because there's always hope, I think that the balloon is floating towards the girl and she's going to catch it. So I've decided to do a stencil on a cereal box. So I just drew it out like this, and then I cut out the inside pieces, and this is my stencil.
That's
out of a
cool.
Cocoa Pops box. And so I'm going to try and do an astronaut, like the little girl, reaching up, but he's reaching for the moon.
Oh, very cool.
So
do I get to do this?
Yeah, of course. And I have lots of other things here, because print is, if you're going to print something, stenciling is one way to do it.
Okay.
But you can also print with other things. So I have potatoes here.
Okay.
And I have carved some moon kind of craters into some potatoes. I have one with a star that doesn't look too good. And so you can just use a half a potato, and then if you put that in paint and stamp it down, it will just be like a circle, like the moon. So you don't have to put craters, or you could paint your craters on afterwards. So this is what we're going to do first.
That's a really good idea. Do you know why? Because like this year we're talking about living in space and what it would be like to live in space. So if you were going to be doing art in space and you wanted to do stenciling, you could probably get away with doing paint and using a stencil with no problem. But if we were going to be in space, we'd have to think about the kinds of foods and things we would be able to grow. And a lot of times they talk about a potato being used as the food to grow.
Oh, wow.
Because you don't need a lot of, as from what I understand, I don't really grow a lot of potatoes, but they grow underground, so they don't need a lot of sunlight and things. And you could possibly grow them in the soil on other planets, maybe the moon. So having potatoes for food is great, but then what if you could also use it for art on other planets? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I love that idea.
So it's really easy to carve into potatoes. They're very, very soft when you cut them in half.
Yeah.
So you can use anything. You can use a pencil. Like I could use the back of a paintbrush even, just to make little craters like this.
Oh my gosh, it's actually spraying all over.
So that will do this, and then you can just scrape. If you have a very sharp pencil, you could scrape little kind of shapes into it.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's very easy. And if you could just get someone to cut a potato in half for you, then you're good to go.
So imagine arts and crafts in space on another planet, and you're using your space potatoes to make space art.
That would be
We're taking space art into space. This is great.
That would be really, really I'm up for that.
So it's really interesting that you brought up the idea of the girl holding the balloon, because when you were talking about that, it made me think about a lot of things too. Like if you were going to have a balloon in space, like it's so normal to have balloons at a party here, or like even if you're going to have a birthday party, you get birthday balloons, right? But you couldn't really do a balloon in space. Like if you were in the vacuum of space and you had a regular like rubber balloon, I guess, and you tried to blow up a balloon, it would actually just explode right away.
Oh.
Because here on Earth, when you're blowing up a balloon, you actually have pressure on the outside of the balloon too. Which is weird. We don't think about that. We usually think about when you're blowing up a balloon, you're putting pressure in and it's making the outside of the balloon expand. But on the outside of that, so from the edge of the balloon out, you have air and you have pressure. You have the atmosphere pressure actually acting on the balloon as well. So that keeps it from going too big. So that's why you really have to blow it to put a lot of air into the balloon to actually get it to expand. And that pressure pushes it out. At the same time, you have the air from the atmosphere pushing back on the balloon. But if you have nothing pushing back on it, if you blow into a balloon, there's nothing to stop it. It would just go straight out and blow up. Wow. So you wouldn't be able to have birthday balloons, or maybe you would have to make it out of maybe a different type of material or something so that you could have maybe steel balloons or something totally different. You wouldn't have, but then if you're in space too, you don't have to worry about the gravity. So if you had metal balloons, you could just tie your metal balloon and it could be floating around like that. It actually might work.
Cool.
Yeah. It's kind of cool to think about. Like even when you were talking about the wind blowing the balloon, because you wouldn't have the wind in space either, which is kind of weird to think about. So you wouldn't, if you were to like let go of your balloon,
just stay there.
Yeah, it wouldn't float away. You wouldn't have to worry about it blowing away.
I never thought about that.
It's kind of weird.
And I think in Banksy's, well, because Banksy doesn't give interviews or he doesn't explain what his art is about, it's just down to the viewer, down to the person that's looking at it to decide what they think it is for them. And I think that through studying other artists and iconography and stuff in their art, I think the red balloon kind of represents hope and dreams, and it's a love heart shaped balloon, so love.
Oh.
So I think that she's catching her dreams.
Oh.
Because the phrase "there's always hope" means that even if your dream seems like it's out of reach, that maybe you'll be able to catch it.
Oh my gosh, I kind of feel like, am I being too spacey? But I'm thinking like space travel feels like a dream, and being able to travel to another planet. I would love that. Like how fun would it be to travel to another planet? And I feel like that's one of my big dreams. And maybe there's hope for me to go travel somewhere.
Of course there is.
It'd be amazing.
Could live there on the moon. Come and visit you.
How fun would that be?
So
this is looking pretty good, Donna.
I have... So this is my astronaut. He's actually going to turn
Cool. Could I try?
Yeah. Here you go. You can use that one because
cool.
You might need to get a little bit more black.
Does it matter where I put it on the paper?
Well, I left enough space just so I can do the moon up in the corner.
Okay. So put them on the
kind of
edge.
yeah.
Or her.
Oh, it's a her. There you go.
Very cool.
Okay, I'm destroyed now.
Oh my gosh, did I use too much? Oh, do you know what? This is actually fun because you really don't have to be too careful with it, do you?
No.
I was trying to be so careful to go inside the lines, and you don't have to.
I find that the more you dab it, that if you dab it on, it makes it look like spray paint, which is what
it does.
Banksy uses. So
yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Do you know another thing that would make spray paint really hard in space?
What?
So if you're in like the vacuum of space and then you were to spray the spray paint out of the can, you have nothing to like here on Earth, if you were to spray the spray paint, you're standing here, you spray the spray paint, it goes that way, you don't move. But if you're in space, you have nothing to there's no friction, there's nothing to hold you in place. So if you sprayed the spray paint and it went that way, you would actually go the opposite way. Which would make it really hard for Banksy to be doing spray paint art in space.
Yeah. Interesting.
I kind of love this. This is so
I kind of
cool.
prefer doing it this way than spray paint because
Yeah.
spray paint's so messy.
It's very messy.
So I'm going to do one on black as well, black paper, so that we can kind of see. You can either do it on black paper or I'm going to do a white astronaut on the black paper.
Oh, that's fun. That
Um,
turned out really good. The moon.
Isn't it?
That's really cool.
It doesn't look so good when it's like, when it looks good when you. So this is my astronaut reaching for the moon. And I think it looks kind of like a
that's
little girl.
cool. Yeah.
So that's our version of a Banksy.
Love it.
He also did really cool, a really cool series of paintings in London of animals. So he used to do,
Oh.
he did, the first one I saw and I really loved it was in a normal fish and chip shop.
Okay.
So they have a sign that says the name of the fish and chip shop and there was little fish on their sign. And Banksy drew, or painted, spray painted, pelicans on top of the sign.
Okay.
And one of them was like eating one of the fish, like taking one of the fish in his mouth off the sign, and the other one is throwing a fish up in the air. So they're interacting with the sign that was already there, which is kind of cool. And the fish and chip owner came in the day after it was painted and was hoping that it was Banksy, and then he confirmed that it was him by posting a picture of it with no caption or anything on his Instagram, and they knew it was a Banksy then.
Oh my gosh.
So he did that, drew loads of people to the chip shop and to that small area of London.
Amazing.
So they kind of became famous for it. And he also did elephants painted on a window looking like they were talking to each other. He did monkeys that were making their way across from the building from one side to the other. So it's very cool, the stuff. It kind of brought a lot of joy to the areas that he painted them.
That's amazing. So it's interesting that you're bringing up animals and things, because when you think about like space and space travel and like going to live in space, before we ever went to live in space, because you know there's people living in space right now.
No? Oh, in the ISS.
Yeah, in the International Space Station. So we've got people living on essentially a spaceship that goes around Earth. And sometimes you can see it very well from Ireland too. So if it's on a clear night in the International Space Station, it goes overhead, you can see it very, very, very bright. And it's kind of cool to just know there's people living up there. Mm-hmm. But before we started sending people into space, we actually sent animals up to test if it was even safe to send people into space. And do you know what one of the first animals to go up into space was?
Is it a dog? Is it a dog?
A dog?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, so there was Laika the dog. I thought you said elephant, and I was like, that'd be a very big rocket to send into space, Donna. So we also have used apes, so like monkeys. So it's kind of interesting that he chose monkeys as well for his art as well. And so a lot of animals have gone into space to see if it was even safe for people. So now that was years and years and years ago. So now we've gone way past that, and we've got people living up in space now. But we've never lived on something that wasn't Earth, really. So other than the International Space Station, we've never lived on a surface of something like the moon. So like we've been to the moon, but we've never lived there. Mm-hmm. So we have a really interesting mission coming up called the Artemis mission. And Artemis is cool because do you know the first mission that took people to the moon? Do you know the name of that one?
It was Apollo 11.
Yeah, it was Apollo. So Apollo 11 took the first astronauts up to the moon and to actually walk on the surface of the moon. And then they had a few Apollo missions after that. And then we stopped going back to the moon because the moon is
done.
It's okay, but like there's not really much there. So we stopped sending people back to the moon until now. And now we're sending people back with Artemis. And that's interesting because if you know your Greek and Roman mythology, Apollo and Artemis were brother and sister.
Wow.
So that's why it's called the Artemis mission. So they're going to be sending people.
That is an interesting fact. I did not
It's kind of cool, huh?
That's
so they're going to be sending people up to the moon. And the reason this one's different is because with the Apollo missions, they went up to the moon. They collected rocks and soil samples and things. They played golf. They drove around on moon buggies. They did things like that. And then they came back to Earth. That was it. So they went out and back and out and back. So this time with Artemis, the plan is to go to the moon and actually build a lunar village, lunar modules,
cool.
and live on the surface of the moon. So we don't know what that's like. We don't know how people are going to react to living on the moon. We don't know the things that they're going to want to do, like hobbies. And that's why art is really important, because people are going to get bored out there. They're going to be, I mean, we've seen the surface of the moon. It's not like you can go play in a river or climb a tree. You'll have to find ways to keep yourself entertained. So having things to do out there, like art, will be really
Do
important.
you think if Banksy was on the moon, that he could not spray paint, because obviously you can't use spray paint, but that he could do graffiti art on the moon surface?
Yeah, how would he do graffiti on the moon? Maybe with a
With
stencil in this
yeah.
to do that?
Could you do it on just onto the moon surface?
Maybe like on the crater of the moon.
Cool.
Imagine that becomes the most famous crater on the moon is
There
the
you
Banksy.
go, Banksy. There's
They-
a challenge here.
We call it the Banksy crater.
That would be
Imagine.
really
Kind of cool. So we also have other missions that are going out to Jupiter.
Okay.
So that is quite interesting that you brought up the fish shop, because do you know what they're looking for on the surface of Jupiter? Well, not on the surface of Jupiter. It's actually going out. They're on their way right now. 2 missions are going out to the moons of Jupiter.
Okay.
Do you know what they're looking at out there? The icy moons of Jupiter. We know that underneath the surface of the ice, there's liquid oceans under there.
Wow.
And we don't know what's in those liquid oceans. So this is why it's interesting,
fish.
because what if there's fish?
Or
Could be.
Could there be big creatures like whale size?
We don't know. We haven't been there yet. So we don't know what kind of animals could be out there in space.
Would they be very big bodies of water?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So it's the whole surface of the moon. So the moons are very big that go around Jupiter, and there's a couple of them that are quite large. And so how we have Antarctica on the Earth, and we have this ice cap there. If you imagined if that took over the whole surface of the Earth, that's what these moons are like.
Wow.
So it's full ice all the way around. And so we know that there's water there because we've actually photographed water coming through the cracks of the ice. Because what happens is, I feel like I'm going to throw this when I'm talking. So the moon, when it moves past Jupiter, the gravity of Jupiter is so strong that it stretches and squeezes the moon. So as it moves around, if it moves close to it, it gets squeezed, and it moves away, it stretches out. And ice doesn't like that kind of thing. So if you ever are trying to stretch or squeeze ice, it's going to crack. So that's what happens to the surface of these moons. They actually end up cracking. And when it cracks, the water is coming out of it. So that's how we know there's actually water underneath that ice. But we don't know how much is there. We kind of have an idea, but we don't know for sure. So there's a possibility in the future we might end up going there. Could you imagine maybe like ice fishing on the icy moons of Jupiter? How weird would that be?
That would be cool. Now I'm just doing a white one, just really quick.
Do you have...
You want a moon?
Yeah,
You want this one?
do that one. Since we're talking about moons.
Or this
That
one?
one?
Oh yeah, this one. So this white paint isn't very strong.
If you could go anywhere in space, Donna, if you were traveling and you wanted to live somewhere else, where would you go?
That's a really good question. I think because there's been so much talk about Mars, that Mars would be a good planet to live on, wouldn't it?
Very good. That's
they-
closer than Jupiter anyway, too, so.
So do Mars is it habitable? Could we live there?
Do you know what? Mars wouldn't be a bad place because, oh, look at my moon.
I love that.
Cool. So Mars is really, really cold. So a lot of times when we think about going places as humans and traveling there, we think about going to the planets that are closest to us. So originally when we talked about leaving Earth, getting into a rocket and going off somewhere, we said, let's go to our closest neighbor, which is Venus. And Venus is considered Earth's twin. So it's very close in size. It's rocky, just like Earth, which means we can stand on it, where Jupiter is a gas giant, so you couldn't really stand on it. And it's like I said, it's very close to us. So we thought, okay, we'll go to Venus. And they sent probes out to Venus, and the probes got there. They got through the atmosphere. Oh, that's the other thing. It's got an atmosphere. But when they landed on the surface, the probes actually started to melt.
Oh.
So it gets over 460 degrees Celsius on the surface of Venus. So way too hot for us. We would melt just like the probes did. And the atmosphere it's nice that there's an atmosphere, but it's so heavy and so thick, it would actually crush us. And it rains sulfuric acid. It's not really a nice place to go.
I wouldn't like it there.
No, wouldn't like this at all. And so it's too hot for us. Amongst other things, it's too hot for us. So our next option is the other closer, like that's our closest. The next closest is Mars.
Okay.
And Mars is also a rocky planet like Earth. It's a bit smaller, so it didn't hold its heat the way Earth and Venus did. So it's cold, got a very thin atmosphere. There's a bit of ice there, so we might be able to use the water on Mars. And
I don't want to live on Mars anymore.
because it's cold.
It's too cold. Is there a hotter planet that is habitable?
Nope.
Okay.
This is it. We are
I'll stay on Earth then.
It's called the Goldilocks zone. So we are in the Goldilocks zone. We are not too hot and we're not too cold. We're just right. Earth is right in the middle. So you wouldn't be able to survive on Mars. Too cold for you?
Too cold.
So you'd have to wear a suit all the time too, because you can't breathe in the atmosphere there either. It's not like our air here. So you'd have to be in a suit every time you left. But at least the atmosphere wouldn't crush you. You wouldn't have to worry about sulfuric acid raining down on you. So it's not as dangerous as Venus would be.
I think I'll just stay on Earth.
Stay on Earth. All right then.
So speaking of Jupiter though, I have a lino print of Jupiter.
Yeah, very cool.
So another way to print, apart from stenciling and potato printing, is lino print. So I have cut this out.
So what is a lino print? How do you do this?
So lino print is a very flexible one. So this is a really good one to work with. You can get different types of lino, and some of them are really hard to cut into, but this is actually really easy to cut into. So usually you don't do this kind of artwork until you're in secondary school, because it does involve a blade. However, if your teacher or someone were to do one, then maybe you could print them. So I drew it on, and then I cut out the shape of Jupiter, and then I put in some of the texture in Jupiter, and this is what is this?
The Great Red Spot.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one I put in. And then these are the moons of Jupiter.
Very cool.
So what you do with a lino print after it's cut is you have lino inks and a roller. So I'll do a blue one. So you get your lino inks. It's really sticky. It's kind of like paint. You can actually do it with paint as well, but I just had lino inks here, so I said I'd use them.
So this is different than paint.
It's just a bit stickier.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a bit messier as well, to be honest. So paints might be a little bit easier to use. So you just roll it on. It actually feels cool to roll on. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I've never done this before.
It's kind of sticky, so it's cool.
It is very sticky. So you really want to make sure you get all the edges and stuff?
Just cover everything.
Do I need more stuff, or is it?
No, I don't think so. Because sometimes it's nice to get a little bit of an effect of the kind of fade out of it.
Okay.
Because it's more obvious that it's a lino print then. I think that's good. So then what we do is we get our page. I'll take the white one off here.
Okay. You don't trust me with it?
No. And put the page on top here. And then if you want to roll over, you seem to be enjoying it. So.
Yeah.
So you just go with the dry roller on top of the paper so that you get all the ink onto the paper. Just get in all the corners. You ready to see it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So. Wow.
So nice.
So
Look at
this
that.
is the print.
That's
so you
very
can
cool.
do this. I love to do them like dark colors on white paper, and then maybe do a few white ones on black paper. It can look really cool.
Yeah.
So that is our Jupiter
That's
print.
really cool. That's such a nice Jupiter too. So like the moons that you pointed out there, those are the large Galilean moons. So there's 4 of them, like you have there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And some of those are the icy moons that they're planning on going out and looking at. And Do you know how many moons Jupiter has?
10?
Way more than that. Way more than that. So I actually don't even know right now because it was at 100 and something, and now it's like I just saw a new report come out that it's like 200. I don't know, but like there's a lot of moons going around. So Jupiter is our largest planet. So because it's so massive, it has really strong gravity, and then it's able to hold a lot of things in orbit around it. So we're getting better at detecting the moons. These were easy to spot. Galileo spotted them way back, the famous astronomer. He had a very small telescope and he looked at Jupiter and he could see them. So those are very large.
So would these be the biggest ones, or would they just be closest?
They're the biggest ones around Jupiter, so they actually reflect sunlight, which makes them bright. Okay. So even with a small telescope, even a pair of binoculars, if you take a look at Jupiter, you can, if you have a good pair of binoculars, you can actually see those 4 points. Wow. So they were easy to spot. We've known about those for a few hundred years, but we're getting better at finding the smaller ones. And so they keep finding more and more moons going around Jupiter and Saturn as well. So we're finding a lot of moons in our solar system. And the moons around Saturn, like Titan, for example, it's so large, it has an atmosphere as well. And when you're that far away, we were talking about temperatures and being really cold. It's very, very cold. You're very, very far away from the sun. But like those, for example, the reason we know that there's liquid oceans underneath the surface is we know that when these moons go close to that really, really strong gravity, it's actually getting heated up. So the energy from that is actually heating up the surface of the moon. So even though you're really far away from the heat from the sun, there's other ways to get heat. So you could be out in the solar system and have a place that might not be so cold. Now you probably still need to have a spacesuit and a habitat to live in and things, but we're finding moons all over the solar system that could be places that we go and visit. So like we were saying, Venus is not going to be an option for us. The planet Jupiter itself, we're not going to land on. That atmosphere would crush us, and it's a very volatile planet. So like that spot that you pointed out, the Great Red Spot, that's actually a giant storm that's been raging on the surface. So it's a big, giant, like hurricane type storm. And it's so big, you can fit 3 Earths inside of it. So this is not a place we're going to go and visit. So
does the form of it change because it's the storm?
Actually, yeah. If you see the pictures of Jupiter, if you actually watch it over a period of time, you can see the spinning of the storm. It actually shifts. So all of these stripes and all these like patterns you see on Jupiter, it doesn't stay the same because it's all clouds and they're all moving around all the time. So it's a big active atmosphere. And so it would be too dangerous for us to visit and be on. So we're finding mostly the planets in our solar system wouldn't be great for us to be on. But there's a possibility the moons going around these planets are places that we could go and places that we could visit. We know we can visit our own moon, so there's a possibility we could go to some of the other ones as well.
What about exoplanets?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Now that's a whole different kettle of fish because that's another one. Like we originally could only find really big exoplanets. So a lot of them were twice the size of Jupiter because they were the easiest ones to spot. But now we're getting better and better trying to find the smaller exoplanets. And so first of all, I'll say an exoplanet. Do you know what that is? You know.
An exoplanet is a planet that hasn't been identified yet?
Close. It's actually I say close because there's a lot of them out there. So there are a lot of them that haven't been identified. But the exoplanet is, we know we have our 8 planets around our sun. And then when we look at other stars out there, we're seeing that there are planets going around those stars. So because they're not part of our solar system, we call them exoplanets.
Oh, okay.
So they're just not part of our original.
So we don't have exoplanets in our solar system, they're all outside it?
No, yeah, so the ones in our solar system, we just call them planets. Okay. All the other ones we call exoplanets because they're outside of our solar system.
Interesting.
Yeah, and now we found a lot of those. And like we were talking about the Goldilocks zone, this is where we find, well, we know in our solar system, this is where we found life, is in that place where it's not too hot, not too cold, it's just right. So if we're going to be looking for life in another solar system, that's where we think we'll find it as well. So the region in that system that's not too hot, not too cold, in just right, just the right amount of heat. And also, if we're thinking about traveling outside of our solar system, humans know we have a place that's not too hot, not too cold for us, we know what range is good for us, then we can look at other systems and go, maybe that's where we want to travel to.
So what does an exoplanet look like?
That's a really good question because we can't actually take a picture of an exoplanet.
Okay.
They're so far away. So we're only just getting good at really detecting them. So there's a couple different ways to detect exoplanets. But what we can tell from when we're detecting them is how big they are. We can tell the type of atmosphere, if there is an atmosphere, what they're made up of, like the chemical compositions, the elements that are there. We can actually tell that from the information we get back, but we don't actually take pictures of them. Okay. So one of the ways that we've actually looked at exoplanets here, it's called a transit method. So the transit method means that we take a look at a star and we can see that starlight fluctuates. It's not always the same level of light all the time. So if you take a graph of the starlight, it'll go up and down, up and down, up and down, and then all of a sudden it'll dip way down, and then it'll stay down, and then it'll come back up. And if it keeps doing that, and there's a pattern, then we know something's actually passing in front of the light. So it's not the light coming from the star, something's actually affecting the light. And so that's how we were able to find exoplanets. It means that the light was blocked out by the planet when it was moving in front of it. So the other part of that is that when the light is coming from the star, if it passes through an atmosphere, it's picking up information. By the time it gets to us, we can see those kinds of things in the light when it comes to us. So that's how we're able to find exoplanets and figure out how big they are and what they're made of and things. But we're not able to actually take a photograph of them. They're very small in terms of how far away they are in space. Space is very, very big. So...
On any of the missions, I have lots of questions.
Okay, yeah.
On any of the missions, has there been artists that have gone up to space to see what art is possible?
Do you know what? There are, there are astronauts even that are very good artists, and they actually have done art in space.
Wow.
Which I think is such a cool thing, because like, if you're going to go out to space and you're doing a mission, I'm imagining you have, like homework, you have a list of things you need to get done. But if you have an artistic mind, you might be thinking creatively about stuff. So not only are you just doing the what's on your list, you might be thinking about like, well, this is interesting. Look at the blue of Earth out the window there. Look at this. Like, you might be able to bring an artistic flavor to it. And astronauts have done that kind of thing.
I love that.
So what we need is more artists to go to space to describe what you're seeing up there and bring it back down. That's what I think anyway.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Any more questions, Donna?
No, I didn't think
Any more about living in space?
Where would you prefer to live, on the moon or on Mars?
Ooh, okay. So I don't like being super far away from my family.
Quite a bit away.
And it's pretty far away. So going to the moon, it takes 3 days to get out to the moon.
Okay.
Going out to Mars, at the fastest, it's about 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah. That's one way. So It's not that far away to go to the moon. And I think if I were able to be on the moon and then look down on Earth and even be able to, like, I'm from New York. So if I were on the moon and I could see New York from space, I think that'd be kind of cool and be like, oh, that's where my family is.
That would be cool.
But if I'm at Mars, it's too far away. And do you know what? The communication. Like even now, I get to call my mom and I can talk to her across the ocean, no problem. We have a 5-hour difference, so the time's a little different and things like that. But like we can talk to each other in real time. If I'm on the moon, there'll be a lag between in the conversation. But if I'm on Mars, that's a 20-minute delay. Ooh. So you're that far away that if you picked up the phone to call your mother, hi mom, it would take 20 minutes to get all the way back to her. Oh, she'd hear, hi mom, and then if she said, hi, take 20 minutes to get back to me.
It's actually quite impressive that it would only take 20 minutes.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, pretty fast.
So you prefer to live on the moon?
I think the moon for now, unless I could take my mom with me. That would be kind of cool. Now, if I knew it was going to be like a trip that only I'd go out to live on Mars for like a year.
Would your mom go with you?
Do you know what? I moved over to Ireland and she came to visit me. So
That's
if
true,
I moved to Mars, I'd say she might actually go with me.
I'll come and visit you.
All right, yeah. Where would you go?
I'd like to go to the moon.
Would
just
ya?
because it looks really cool just to when you see the footage of the astronauts walking on the moon. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It really does.
I think that would be a really fun
Mars
thing.
would be too scary because no one's ever been there. At least we know that someone's been to the moon already, and you're not going to die when you step foot in it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think it'd be fun too because on Mars, the gravity is 1/6 the gravity of Earth. So that means that the gravity is not as strong. So it's not pulling on you as much when you're there, which means that you're lighter.
Oh, I
So
love that.
you'd be able to bounce
That would be
along.
cool.
Do you know? So it wouldn't be like walking here on Earth. I think that'd be kind of fun too.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I think I want to be an artist in space now.
I think you should.
think
Do you know what, Donna?
What?
You should dream big.
I should.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for all of your amazing art tips. This was a lot of fun. I never thought of using a potato and carving it into a moon to print it. That's a really cool idea. And it's got me thinking about all sorts of things in space. And I think this would be a really good way to pass time in space and be artistic. And it wouldn't be too intense in terms of like gravity and all these things you'd have to think about. You could do painting in space probably, I'm guessing, no problem. I've not done it, but I'm guessing you probably paint in space, no problem. Yeah. So thanks so much, Donna. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this year's Space Art. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you get some good prints out of it, and please show us. We would love to see it. And for all of our resources and other events, check out spaceweek.ie. Bye.
Bye.